Why most people fail, and how the few rise to wealth. The world is full of people who dream, who whisper their hopes into the empty corridors of their own minds, who make plans that dissolve the moment reality touches them. But among them, a few rise. A few step into a fire of doubt and walk out with flames in their hands, forging from struggle, uncertainty, and ridicule a life of wealth, not just in money, but in freedom, purpose, and influence. The question is not why the world fails the many. The question is why the few succeed, and what separates those who watch life pass by from those who create it. It begins with a truth most people refuse to face. The world does not owe you anything. Not comfort, not stability, not opportunity. Thomas Edison was laughed at for thousands of experiments that failed before the light bulb illuminated the world. Andrew Carnegie began life as a poor Scottish immigrant, delivering telegrams and working as a bobbin boy. Yet his vision and relentless belief built empires that shaped industries. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination. Abraham Lincoln failed in business, lost elections, suffered personal tragedy. But he rose to lead a nation through its darkest hour. Ford's first car company collapsed. The world is littered with failures, and yet it is littered with legends. The difference is not luck. It is mindset. Most people fail because they look outward when they should look inward. They compare, they measure, they chase shadows. They live for validation, for recognition, for approval that will never come on the schedule they hope for. But the few who rise understand a law as old as human struggle. The battlefield is within. Success is first an internal conquest, a war fought in the mind, in the moments when no one is watching, when the heart trembles with doubt and fear whispers, "You can't." Belief is the seed of every empire. Without belief, strategy is hollow, effort is wasted, and action falters. Jack Ma, before founding Alibaba, was rejected from dozens of jobs, including KFC. He was laughed at, ignored, and dismissed. Yet he held a vision so vivid in his mind that failure became fuel, not a verdict. To rise, you must cultivate the unshakable certainty that your dream deserves to exist and that your life is meant to pursue it relentlessly. This belief is not born from arrogance. It is forged in the quiet repetition of discipline, the conscious practice of resilience, the willingness to embrace discomfort and transform it into mastery. Clarity is the lens through which belief becomes direction. Without clarity, action is wasted, scattered like arrows fired into a storm. Most people wander, unsure of what they truly want, confused by noise and distraction, paralyzed by indecision. The few who rise do not stumble blindly. They define with precision the life they intend to create. Andrew Carnegie did not aim merely to be wealthy. He aimed to build industries, to innovate, to leave a legacy. Walt Disney did not seek to sell computers. He sought to transform the way humanity interacts with technology, to touch the culture itself. When clarity meets belief, purpose emerges. And with purpose, action becomes unstoppable. But vision alone is not enough. Vision without action is a painting never hung, a symphony never played. The masses dream, the few rise. Discipline is the bridge. Every morning, Edison tested, failed, and adapted. Every night, Carnegie read, strategized, and invested. Discipline is mundane, invisible, repetitive, but it is the silent architect of miracles. Your daily choices, your habits, your willingness to embrace the grind when glory is absent, these are the measures of whether you will rise or remain in the shadows. Action is not glamorous. Action is not inspiration. Action is showing up when the world sleeps, when failure mocks you, when every instinct begs you to quit. Henry Ford rebuilt, restarted, and refined after every collapse. Walt Disney mortgaged his house, took loans, and risked everything on drawings and ideas that seemed absurd.
To rise, you must act before perfection arrives. Act in spite of fear. Act with relentless consistency. The world rewards doers, not dreamers. Adaptability is the edge that separates temporary success from lasting triumph. Carnegie understood markets shifted, Edison adjusted experiments, Disney pivoted from animation to theme parks when opportunity demanded it. Most people cling to comfort, resisting change, fearful of the unknown. The few who rise embrace it, knowing that mastery of change is mastery of life. Flexibility does not dilute vision, it strengthens it. Like bamboo bending in a storm, those who adapt survive, grow, and ultimately dominate the landscape of possibility.
Resilience is the armor of every empire builder. Rejection, loss, ridicule, they are inevitable. Lincoln faced personal and political failures that would have crushed a lesser man, yet he persisted. Jack Ma faced 10 failed business attempts before Alibaba succeeded. Each setback is a lesson disguised as pain, a test of whether you can endure long enough to see the horizon shift. To rise, you must welcome adversity, greet it as a teacher, and extract from it the tools of your future success. Learning is the compass of the persistent. The few who rise never stop absorbing, questioning, iterating. They devour knowledge not as a commodity, but as a lifeline. Carnegie read while the world slept. Edison experimented while others rested. Knowledge without application is useless. Applied knowledge is alchemy. Every failure contains a blueprint. Every mistake is a message. The world rewards those who listen, adapt, and refine their methods until excellence becomes inevitable. Gratitude is the secret force that fuels persistence. It is easy to despise struggle, to curse obstacles, to grow bitter at setbacks. But those who rise understand that gratitude transforms hardship into opportunity. It trains the mind to see lessons, mentors in disguise, and possibilities where others see only dead ends. To rise, you must cultivate a daily practice of acknowledging what is present, what is learned, and what is within your power to change. Most people fail because they stop too soon. They wait for perfect conditions. They wait for recognition. They wait for the world to bend to their desire. But the few who rise understand that timing is the consequence of persistence. There is no magical moment, no cosmic alignment that grants permission to succeed. Opportunity favors those who act again and again, refining, learning, enduring. The river does not wait for the stone to be polished. It wears the stone smooth, the relentless motion. The few who rise are not smarter, luckier, or gifted with divine foresight. They are committed to the grind of becoming. They do not seek shortcuts. They forge pathways. They do not wait for inspiration. They become disciplined architects of their own destiny. Jack Ma did not start Alibaba because conditions were perfect. He started because he refused to surrender to impossibility. Every empire, every fortune, every legacy begins the same way, with one individual refusing to accept defeat. And here is the most dangerous truth. The world will try to convince you that you cannot. Teachers, peers, society, even your own self-doubt, they will whisper that your vision is foolish, your ambition's impossible. Edison was called an idiot. Lincoln was mocked. Disney was dismissed. The few who rise do not listen to the chorus of doubt. They listen to the voice within that knows the fire of possibility, that knows the quiet certainty of purpose. Wealth is not simply accumulation. True wealth is freedom, the ability to create, to impact, to live with intention, and it is reserved not for the timid, not for the comfortable, but for those willing to endure, to persist, to rise from the ashes of their own failures stronger than before. The few who rise understand this. They understand that struggle is not punishment, but preparation, that rejection is not denial, but a redirection towards something greater. That failure is not final, but the furnace in which greatness is forged. So the question is not, why do most people fail? The question is, will you rise? Will you confront your fears, embrace your failures, sharpen your mind, fortify your discipline, and act with relentless consistency?
Will you cultivate gratitude, adaptability, and resilience as your armor? Will you persist until vision becomes reality, until belief manifests as wealth, purpose, and legacy? The few who rise are ordinary people who refuse to remain ordinary. They are the invisible warriors in the trenches of life, the architects in the chaos, the dreamers who dared to do. They wake before the world. They study while others rest. They act while others hesitate. And when they stand atop the mountain of their own creation, they do not boast, they do not gloat, they simply understand what history has always taught, that greatness is not inherited, it is earned, and it is earned through relentless, unyielding, conscious action. You're standing at the crossroads of choice. One path is familiar, safe, predictable. It leads to comfort, yes, but it also leads to mediocrity. The other path is uncertain, dangerous, challenging, but it leads to transformation, to wealth, to freedom. The few who rise do not choose comfort. They choose challenge. They choose action. They choose to believe in themselves when no one else will. They choose to endure, to adapt, to learn, and to rise. The world will not hand you opportunity. It will not wait for you to be ready. It will continue, indifferent, unstoppable. And yet, in this indifference lies a secret. Your potential is unbounded. Your capacity to rise, to create, to transform yourself and the world is infinite. Every great empire, every fortune, every legacy began as a single step taken by someone unwilling to accept the limitations imposed by circumstance, society, or self-doubt. Now is your step. Now is your moment. The fire of your ambition, the clarity of your vision, the discipline of your action, the resilience of your spirit, and the hunger of your mind, they all converge here. History does not remember the timid. Fortune does not favor the hesitant. The few who rise are remembered because they refuse to fall, refuse to quit, and refuse to wait for permission to live their greatness.
To rise is to stare into the abyss of uncertainty and smile. Not because you are fearless, but because you understand fear is a compass pointing directly toward growth. Every legend, every titan of industry, every pioneer who altered the course of history stood on the precipice of doubt. Edison faced bankruptcy while inventing the light bulb. Carnegie faced the relentless grind of Industrial Revolution labor while building steel empires. Disney faced rejection after rejection while drawing characters that would one day inspire generations. And Jack Ma? He faced ridicule from government officials, rejection from employers, and doubt from even his closest allies. Yet he persisted, not because he knew the path would be easy, but because he refused to surrender to the ordinary life, the life that waits, stagnant, for permission from the world. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack endurance. Talent without persistence is like a river that dries in the summer. It has potential, but it does not sustain life. Persistence is the water that carves valleys from mountains, that wears down obstacles until they are no longer obstacles at all. To rise, you must develop this endurance, this unwillingness to quit, even when progress is invisible. The world measures greatness not by speed, but by persistence. Action, relentless and repeated, is the heartbeat of wealth. It is not a single dramatic gesture, not a viral breakthrough, not a lucky windfall. It is the 1,000 invisible choices made consistently over time. Ford rebuilt his company after every collapse. Edison failed 1,000 times before the light bulb glowed. Carnegie worked long hours, read countless books, and studied every emerging trend. The few who rise do not wait for the perfect moment. They take the imperfect moment and make it perfect through action. Each step forward, no matter how small, compounds into momentum. Each failure teaches, each setback reshapes, each challenge strengthens. But rising is not just action, it is intelligence applied with discipline. Knowledge without implementation is vanity. Anyone can read, but few apply. The few who rise internalize lessons, test hypotheses, iterate relentlessly. Lincoln's law of leadership was forged in the trial of a divided nation. Disney's innovation was born from the willingness to iterate, to redraw, to reimagine constantly. Carnegie's steel empire thrived because he understood that the world would not wait for him to become perfect. He had to learn, adapt, and act faster than his competitors. To rise, you must become a perpetual student of your craft, a relentless experimenter of your life, a thinker and doer at the same time. Adaptability is the silent advantage of the great. The world is fluid. Markets shift, technologies emerge, disasters strike. Opportunities vanish as quickly as they appear. Most people resist change, cling to comfort, and flounder. The few who rise bend like bamboo, bend like rivers, bend like light through a prism. When Kodak refused to embrace digital photography, it fell. When Blockbuster refused to innovate, it vanished. The few who rise anticipate, pivot, and evolve. They understand that adaptability is not surrender, it is mastery over the circumstances that others allow to master them. Gratitude, surprisingly, is part of the arsenal of every legend. It may seem soft, even trivial, but gratitude fuels resilience. It transforms failure into lesson, hardship into growth, struggle into insight. Carnegie wrote letters of gratitude to mentors and teachers, understanding that every advantage begins with acknowledgement. Edison appreciated the small victories hidden within failure. Jack Ma, despite countless setbacks, always emphasized gratitude for his team, for his failures, for the challenges that forced him to innovate. To rise, you must cultivate this mindset, this recognition that every experience, pleasant or painful, contributes to the architecture of your success. And then there is the art of risk, the calculated leap into the unknown that separates fortune from stagnation. Most people fail because they fear losing more than they desire winning. The few who rise embrace risk as the medium through which opportunity flows. Carnegie mortgaged everything on steel ventures. Edison risked reputation and finances on thousands of experiments. Jack Ma started Alibaba with nothing, believing in a dream that no one else could see. Risk is not recklessness. It is faith in preparation, confidence in vision, and courage to act when the path is unclear.
The masses fear failure. They avoid discomfort. They seek guarantees. And so they remain trapped in cycles of mediocrity. But wealth, influence, and freedom are never born from comfort. They are born from relentless pursuit, from resilience in the face of adversity, from the willingness to endure storms that others run from. Every setback is a sharpening stone. Every criticism is a lesson. Every closed door is a detour toward something greater. Consider the invisible forces that shape the trajectory of greatness: consistency, focus, and patience. Carnegie spent years building his empire, knowing that short-term gains were irrelevant compared to the power of compounded effort. Edison tested relentlessly, each experiment a brick in the foundation of invention. Jobs iterated tirelessly on Apple products, rejecting shortcuts and mediocrity, understanding that mastery is built through patience and focus. To rise, you must embrace the slow, unseen work, the daily choices, the discipline, the commitment to practice long before reward appears. And here is a truth that is rarely spoken: suffering is a teacher. The few who rise do not avoid it, they engage with it, extract from it, and let it mold them. Lincoln's heartbreak, Disney's bankruptcy, Carnegie's humble beginnings, Edison's relentless failures, all were crucibles that forged resilience, insight, and vision. Your struggles are not enemies. They are allies. Each challenge faced is a rehearsal for the greatness that awaits you. Each tear, each sleepless night, each lonely decision compounds into strength that no wealth, no accolade, no external validation can match. The world will conspire to keep you small. It will tell you that you are too ordinary, too weak, too late. It will whisper doubts, amplify fears, and celebrate conformity. But the few who rise do not listen.
They build an internal compass stronger than external noise. They cultivate self-trust that dwarfs the judgment of others. They understand that the approval of the world is optional, but self-mastery is mandatory. The few who rise embrace solitude, reflection, and discipline as allies, knowing that greatness is birthed in the crucible of independent thought and courageous action. Vision is the fuel. Action is the engine. Resilience is the armor. Discipline is the map. Adaptability is the rudder. Gratitude is the sustenance. Knowledge is the lantern. And risk is the leap that turns all of these into motion. The few who rise understand how to harmonize these forces into a singular, unstoppable trajectory. They understand that wealth, true wealth, is not merely monetary, but the freedom to design a life, to influence the world, to leave a legacy that outlives them. The masses fail because they lack integration. They compartmentalize, delay, rationalize, and avoid the full responsibility of their potential. The few who rise synthesize every principle, every lesson, every failure, every victory into a coherent strategy of living. They wake early, they study late, they act daily, they reflect constantly, and they persist endlessly. They understand that every moment is a brushstroke on the canvas of their life, and they are both artist and architect. And finally, to rise is to embrace inevitability, not the inevitability of success, but the inevitability of growth when principles are applied with consistency. Growth is not random. Growth is not a gift. Growth is the consequence of disciplined action, applied knowledge, resilience in adversity, gratitude in struggle, and vision that refuses to bend. The few who rise understand this law, and they live by it, not occasionally, not when convenient, but relentlessly until transformation is complete. History is not kind to the hesitant, the doubtful, the ordinary. But history celebrates the persistent, the visionary, the disciplined, the relentless. Edison, Carnegie, Disney, Lincoln, Ford, Ma, they were ordinary men who refused ordinary lives. They endured, learned, acted, adapted, and rose. And so can you. But only if you are willing to confront fear, embrace discomfort, persist without applause, and act with unwavering belief in your vision. Rise. And when you rise, rise fully. Do not stagger halfway. Do not wait for permission. Do not hope for circumstances to be kind. Transform the struggle into fuel, the doubt into clarity, the failure into insight. Build daily habits, act with courage, and persist until your vision commands reality. The few who rise do so not because the world is fair, but because they refuse to let the world define them. They refused to be ordinary. And when they rise, they do so with the fire of certainty, the armor of resilience, and the unstoppable power of belief made manifest.
Rise. And now, understand this: the journey is not a straight line. It is a tempest, a storm, a crucible where every trial hammers the ordinary into the extraordinary. The few who rise embrace this storm, not as punishment, but as the forge of destiny. Imagine the steel of Carnegie's empire being shaped under relentless heat and pressure. So too must your mind, your spirit, and your purpose be forged in the fires of struggle. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. Ease is the companion of mediocrity. Only through resistance do you discover your power. Vision alone is not enough. Belief alone is not enough. Discipline, action, learning, and resilience must converge into a single, unstoppable force. This is what separates those who watch life pass by from those who shape it.
History does not remember those who hesitated. It remembers the ones who leaned into adversity, who faced rejection with courage, who acted when the world doubted, and who refused to give up even when the night seemed endless. Edison, failing 1,000 times, illuminated the world. Lincoln, defeated repeatedly, led a nation through its darkest hour. Disney, ridiculed endlessly, created a kingdom of imagination that still breathes today. Jack Ma, dismissed over and over, built Alibaba into an empire that touched millions. The lesson is unmistakable. Persistence transforms impossibility into inevitability. And yet, rising is not about emulating others. It is about discovering the force within you, the unshakable spark of creativity, courage, and purpose that the world cannot extinguish. It is about cultivating a mind that sees opportunity where others see obstacles. It is about building the inner strength to act decisively, to endure relentlessly, to adapt intelligently, and to pursue knowledge ceaselessly. This is the law of the few who rise. Ordinary people, extraordinary results. Simple principles applied with audacious commitment. Now, picture yourself as the architect of your own empire. Each habit, each choice, each action is a brick in the structure of your future. The weak build castles of sand, washed away by every wave of circumstance. The few who rise build fortresses of stone, tested by storms, anchored in vision, defended by discipline, and illuminated by the light of relentless belief. Every setback, every criticism, every failure is mortar, binding your resolve, hardening your foundation, shaping a legacy that will outlast fleeting trends and transient approval. Do not fear solitude. Do not fear criticism. Do not fear the weight of responsibility. Every giant in history carried solitude like a crown, endured criticism like armor, and bore responsibility like the handle of a sword that cuts through mediocrity. The masses avoid responsibility, avoid challenge, avoid discomfort, and so they remain tethered to mediocrity. The few who rise embrace it all, knowing that the measure of greatness is not what you inherit, but what you endure, learn, and create. The final truth, the one that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, is this: you must act now. The world will not wait. Opportunity is indifferent. Time is fleeting. The years pass unnoticed like water through your fingers. Every day you hesitate, every day you postpone, the current of life carries you farther from the destiny you were meant to claim. The few who rise understand that action, compounded, persistent, intelligent, and courageous, is the only currency that buys the life they desire. Everything else, luck, talent, approval, is secondary, often irrelevant.
And so, rise. Rise with clarity in your mind, fire in your heart, and steel in your spine. Rise with the humility to learn, the courage to act, the gratitude to see lessons in adversity, and the vision to see not just what is, but what could be. Rise like Edison, like Carnegie, like Disney, like Lincoln, like Ford, like Ma, but also rise as yourself, unchained by doubt, unbound by convention, unapologetically committed to your destiny. Let the world doubt you. Let the critics mock you. Let rejection sharpen you. Let failure sculpt you. Let struggle fuel you. Let clarity guide you. Let vision drive you. Let discipline mold you. Let persistence carry you. Let action define you. Let gratitude sustain you. Let adaptability free you. Let resilience crown you. And when you rise, truly rise, you will realize that wealth, influence, freedom, and legacy were never rewards. They were consequences. Consequences of endurance, of courage, of relentless belief in the fire within you. This is your moment. The few who rise do not wait for miracles, they make them. They do not wait for permission, they take it. They do not wait for luck, they create it. And when they rise, they do so fully, unflinchingly, unrelentingly. They rise until the echoes of their struggle become the foundation of their triumph, until the world can no longer ignore the inevitability of their greatness, until they become living proof that ordinary people, armed with vision, discipline, resilience, and relentless action, can achieve the extraordinary. Rise now. Not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, not when fear subsides. Rise today. Rise in mind, rise in heart, rise in action. Rise until your doubts are shadows behind you, until your failures are fuel beneath you, until your vision is reality before you. Rise like the titans of history, but rise as the architect of your own future. Rise and never stop. Because the truth is simple. Most people fail, but the few who rise, they are unstoppable. And you, if you choose, if you commit, if you endure, if you act, if you persist, you are one of them.